Our countdown toward the 2013 NBA draft continues. I'm Tim Roye for Warriors.com. Warriors coming off a fabulous year, but this year they do not have a pick in the 2013 NBA draft, but we all know that could change even on draft night. Helping us analyze the 2013 NBA draft, Doug Gottlieb from CBS Sports Radio, and has been a long-time observer of basketball. Doug, it's great to have you on Warriors.com today, and tell me a little bit your overview on this draft. A lot of people are downplaying this draft, but I always kind of put in a little bit of a hold-on type notion toward a draft, because I really don't think you know how good a draft is until you're 5 years down the road.
Well, yeah, I would say, though, that a reasonable person would say that this year doesn't appear to have any potential superstars, maybe not any potential stars, in terms of like all-star caliber players. That doesn't mean the draft doesn't have value. You just have to be sensible with, one, your expectations, and two, where you take a guy based upon how his salary is going to play out over the next 2 to 4 years, depending on if you pick it up. So, look, I think like last year's draft was supposed to be the worst draft ever, and you look at how well the Warriors did with Ezeli, Draymond Green, and then, of course, up at the top with Harrison Barnes. So, bad drafts are, to me, merely excuses for people who missed or did a poor job or poorly assessed how somebody fits in. Sometimes a guy making it or living up to his potential is more based upon when he's going to get his opportunity and if that opportunity fits with his skill set and with his personality. So there's a myriad of factors as to if it becomes a good draft for your team personally. But I would agree with the overall premise that it's not a star-filled draft and that you're going to be drafting, trying to find the right fit for what you potentially need.
Yeah, you mentioned Draymond Green, and I find him so interesting in the NBA circle because he does not have one particular skill per se. He's not a great shooter, but he just makes great basketball plays. He has a great instinct. Are there some Draymond Greens in this year's draft?
Absolutely. I think that's the interesting thing about Day-Day is that he, normally a bench player in the NBA has to have one refined skill. And I would say if Green had one, it's that his ability to be a multi-position offensive player, multi-position defensive player, and that he can actually make others better without scoring. That actually is a skill. But in the traditional sense of role player, guy off the bench has to be a change the pace point guard, a dead-eye shooter, a rim protector, shot blocker, a low post scorer, and he's like none of those things. But I think his versatility is his gift, and I think you find that generally with players who have developed more in college, guys that are third or fourth-year players, and I do think there are guys like that, and that'll be around in the second round. It used to be the excuse, if you're going to make a mistake in the NBA, you make a big mistake. Now it's if you're going to make a mistake, make a young mistake. Guys will draft somebody merely because they're young, not because they're good. And I think therein lies an inherent mistake in that you don't just draft a guy because he's young and you think he'll develop. You got to find something to kind of stick your teeth into. And those guys are usually a little bit further down the draft.
Who would your top 3, top 5 be in this year's draft?
See, I think Otto Porter is a bigger, better version of what Draymond Green brought to Golden State. I actually think Otto Porter is the safest, smartest number one pick because he can play some 3, because he can play some 4, because he's an adept passer. When called on, he became a good scorer. I don't think he's ever anything more than a 14-point-a-game guy in the pros, but I know he's going to be an above 8 or 9 point-a-game guy in the pros, and he can rebound, and he can defend, and he can pass. Otto Porter would be the first guy I would look at. I like Ben McLemore a great deal. I think he's a prototype 2-guard. I think he's probably got to have, he didn't play with a great point guard at Kansas. I think he's going to continue to develop skills off the ball. He's tremendous in transition, and he can get his own shot. McLemore would be number 2 on my personal board. And then I like Alex Len from Maryland. He's coming off of surgery, so you're not going to have him for Summer League. You probably don't have him for training camp, but that doesn't matter. He's 6'10", 6'11", a prototype face-up four who can also score down close to the basket and can defend the rim some. Those would be kind of the top three. I think people are going to talk themselves into a Nerlens Noel because he went to Kentucky, because he's a shot blocker, because he's a good athlete. But the fact is that size-wise, width-wise, he's never going to be a true center. He doesn't have much of an offensive game. And though he's a good shot blocker and a very good athlete, you're kind of betting on the unknown in that how good an athlete is he going to be coming off ACL surgery. And, again, he's never going to develop as – like, if the upside is Tyson Chandler, that would be great. The difference is Tyson Chandler is just bigger, stronger, wider, and developed his body during his time in the NBA. It doesn't look like that's Nerlens Noel's build. So I think he's a poor man's Tyson Chandler at best, and he's coming off a knee injury. I would slide him down deeper in the draft than others have him. And then, you got to have a mishmash at point guard depending on what your need is. But those would be my top three. I like Otto Porter, Ben McLemore, and Alex Len, 1, 2, 3.
Hey, Doug, tell us all the things you're doing and how can people follow you on Twitter?
Follow me on Twitter at Gottlieb Show. That's GOTTLIEBSHOW. I write for CBSSports.com. I have a lot of pre-draft coverage coming out. And then I do a daily radio show on CBS Sports Radio, which is national and is growing by the day. You can listen to CBSSportsRadio.com if you don't get it, or download the app at radio.com. And then nightly I have a TV show which covers, just like a radio show, all sports. And that's Lead Off, and it's on CBS Sports Network, which you can get hopefully on your cable.
Well, if you ever get 5 minutes of free time, come out to a Warriors game. We'd love to see you at a Warriors game sometime.
I will. Tell Coach Jackson I said hello. We when he was up in Bristol and I was there, and Greg Anthony was there, we used to go to the Bristol YMCA and play and play pickup ball, and each of us would take a team. And they invented the Mark Jackson rule for a reason. He'd turn and back you down from about mid-court. But as a guy who could pass the basketball, one, it was fun to watch the Warriors play, and then two, Mark's one of the 2 or 3 greatest to ever do it. So that's good stuff. I love watching. My brother's up there, and they love following Steph and the boys. So we're big fans.
CBS Sports personality Doug Gottlieb joining us here at Warriors.com. We hope that helps you get ready for the 2013 NBA Draft. I'm Tim Roye. Our coverage continues right here at Warriors.com.